Hello, good morning, everyone. We are back with the live session today, which we normally do it at 11. And some interesting trends are being visible in the market. One important thing is that the Nifty index has broken the previous low of 25,000. So, what do we do next, right? Because, in our earlier discussion as well, when we spoke about it, the anticipation was that the 25,000 mark might not be breached, but it is breaching right now. So, what do we do, and what are the things that I am looking out for? Okay, so I think largely the discussion would be on that, and what are the data points that are required to see if at all some sort of breakdown happens. Okay, so I'll share my screen, and after seeing my screen, please mention in the comment that you can see my screen, so that an episode like yesterday does not happen. So is my screen visible? Can you all please confirm? I've opened the Stripe platform as well. Can you see my screen? Okay, so there is one confirmation at least I got. Fine. So we'll start with it. Now, Nifty 50, it has broken the support level of the 40-day exponential average, which was which was holding very well in all the corrections, right? And now it is threatening to break. So, what do we make of it, and how do we think about it? So, the first thing is, wait, let me, yeah. So, the first thing is that, we need to wait on a closing basis, okay, whether this low is broken on a closing basis or no. And then the other question is that what happens if the low is broken on a closing basis? So, see, there are two to three important things that I'm watching out for. Okay, one is if I go to the option chain, if I go to the open interest, okay, over here there is an option of combined OI. Combined OI means OI across all the expiries. Okay, be it weekly, monthly, and even in monthly, near month, next month, far month, everything. So I typically tend to look at combined OI, because that gives us a lot more sense as to how people are positioned positionally. Okay, so when I do this, what I get to see is that the Nifty index is around the 25,000 mark, and over here you can see that the open interest is highest over here. Okay, uh, the 25,000 put option has the open interest, and actually this caught my eye when I was seeing the option, the strike OI inside screen. Okay, I just typed Nifty over here because in a first look I wanted to see where the open interest is and what is happening, and you can see almost all the Nifty indices are near their support level. Okay, be it Nifty next 50, it has a strong put base around the 68,000 mark, and that is where it is approaching. Nifty index almost a 14% rise in open interest today. Okay, one concerning thing is that actually when I was seeing the data at that point of time, 25,000 put had the highest OI addition, but now that seems to have shifted and gone to 24,800. So this is one development that I would want to watch very closely, what is happening, and whether this OI in 25,000 put, so far it is around 14.7% increase, whether it is increasing further or no. If it is increasing, it means that people are trying to you can say that they are trying to defend this level. But after this refresh, it becomes interesting because now 25,000 call has the highest open interest, right? It has just happened after the refresh. So need to see. This is an evolving data. Need to see. But over here, you can see that there is almost 1 crore 75 lakh open interest on 25,000 put option. So need to see how this unfolds. Now, this was the first thing that I was watching out for, because put. Even in the put, it seems like a lot of put writers are trying to think that the 25,000 mark will be defended. So that is why we are seeing some sort of put addition as well. But at the same time today, because the market has fallen, there is an aggressive build up that is seen in 25,000 call option as well. So we need to see how this data evolves. The second thing I was watching is that uh, whether in the Nifty index is shorting happening a lot. Okay, the shorting seems to be happening. Okay, and there is no denial of that. But is it happening to a very major extent? I have my doubt on that, because you can see that there is just 1% open interest built up. So it was over year, that was 14th. Okay, over here there was some meaningful open interest that was built, but more or less volumes are also on the lower side, because you can see that the volume change is also majorly negative over here. So so I'm not very convinced. Had it been a double digit kind of built up that we had seen, so say for example, if you see the correction that had happened say in October. Okay, now see over here also, when the correction was happening, you can see that consistently it was at high single digits and so on, the build up. So that's where it gets a little convincing that the short build up is actually happening. 1% short build up doesn't really frankly move the needle. Okay, so this is one data point where I was seeing and I was thinking and suspecting a bit. Now one might say that I was expecting an up move, so that's why you might be biased. So fine. I mean, it can be the case. I'm not sure of that. But then, one more thing that I saw is, and this is important to understand the difference of that. Okay. See, Nifty index is at the 61.8% retracement level right now. Okay. The Wait, let me be very precise. Let me use the matter from low to high. Okay, if I do, the 61.8% is at 24,930 levels. Okay, let me just extend it to the right. So it is over here. It has almost touched that. The lower band is touched. And if I actually see the hourly RSI as well, I mean, that would have gone to sub 30 levels as well. Uh, Let me add RSI over here. So that is also 25 now, and we are sort of having minor positive divergence yet. Okay, so here we are seeing some positive divergence. To be very honest, I mean, when it resisted at the 40, this was not a good sign. But yes, I mean, I thought that there might be some bit of consolidation and then eventually it will rise higher, but it has fallen down. So there is this positive divergence that is seen, and as I told you, we are at 61.8% retracement as well. So I don't know, I need to see, how things unfold. And I'll tell you one thing that is convincing me a little more, that this could be a false breakdown, but this is subject to how the closing is. So when I do the trade setup, oh sorry, let me maximize the screen. Let me do trade setup also in the indicator trade setup, and then let me look at bank nifty, and that is where the setup is interesting. Okay, so you can see over here what has happened is that it has come to the 40. Okay, the bank nifty has come to the 40-day exponential average. It had not even tested once. It was just, I think, when that Trump had mentioned about the tariffs and all, that time we saw a gap down. That's about it. But after this up move, 40 was never tested. Only this is for the first time it is testing. And on the hourly chart, there is this a slight break of channel that has happened, right? If you see over here, okay, actually the channel is not broken now, because there has been some recovery. So it has come back to the lower end of the channel. Okay, and we saw even in Strikeover Insights. So wait, let me open Strikeover Insights in the other tab. And if I do Bank Nifty over here, okay, it says that it is near support, and but yes, see, the 56,500 put option is also seeing good addition today, and the put base is somewhere around 56,000 mark. So so yes, I mean, when we see the open interest data, when we see the channel, when we see the the trading setup as well, where it has gone to 40, uh, it sort of suggests that maybe this could be a false breakdown and not necessarily an actual breakdown. Now I'll tell you one more data point which I saw, you know which tells me that even if it is a breakdown, at least don't short now. Even if it is a breakdown, just wait for a while. Okay, and that is nothing but the FI's positioning. See, typically these are all medium term indicators. Okay, now one might argue that the prices are going down, FIs are increasing their short, and probably they know something best, that is why they are shorting. Because what has happened is that in this 2 or 3% decline that we have seen from the top, okay, their shorting has gone from almost 33,000 contracts in the index futures to almost 1,35,000 contracts. Okay, and this has now almost exceeded, and this is actually the second highest sort of shorting on record. Okay, we have the data since 2012. Okay, there hasn't been so much of shorting. The last time when it had happened was that in Feb, where there was all this uncertainty about tariff. There is still an uncertainty, but market has found a way to be a little more calm this time. But one can argue that it could be the tariff thing that might be bothering FIs, and that's why they are shorting. But I don't know. Historically, we have seen that whenever such oversold conditions had happened. Okay, imagine this was the election day low. Where BJP did not get majority, and there were rumors that they might not be able to form government. If they form, it will be populist, etc., etc. All those theories were going on, but this worked out well. This worked out very well, even at that point of time. So I'm thinking this might also work out well. See, sometimes what happens is that the absolute numbers would be misleading, right? But when I see the percentage long, so of the overall position, even that is at an oversold zone. Okay, even that is at 16%, and 16% is not necessarily a good number as such. I mean, it typically suggests oversold conditions only. But yes, I mean, one can argue that it has gone to 12 sort of levels as well, on the downside, and it was only around this time in March 23 where it gone to 8%. So this is a bit of a risk over here, but I think we probably need to wait and watch and see how the index behaves, because I'm somewhat not convinced about the breakdown. So the first thing I would watch out for is how Nifty is behaving by the day end, and the second thing which I mentioned was actually the Bank Nifty index. So here, if I do trade setup, Nifty Bank, sorry. So I would see what exactly the Bank Nifty is also doing, and whether these important support levels are held or not. Okay. So these are three, four important things that I am watching out for. Okay. And say, for example, if we get now, yes, with this, actually, I want to, caution on one thing, and where I feel if at all the correction happens, then where will it be brutal? I think it can be brutal in the small and the mid cap index. Now, I'll tell you the reason why. Okay, the thing that has happened is that it has not gone back to the 40 so far, and we have seen a little bit of divergence as well. Actually, in mid cap, the divergence is not that visible, but in small cap, it is glaringly visible. Okay, so you can see over here there has been a little higher highs. Wait, let me so you can see over here that there has been this higher high formation that has happened, but in RSI there has been consistently lower high lower low pattern. So here this concerns me, and also the RSI is the RMI has not gone back towards the zero line. So see, it can very well happen that maybe Nifty index does not fall much or remains flat, but small mid caps can see a big correction. And because most of the retail and the people who are traders and all, they might stick more with the small and the mid cap stocks. There, that's where the pain can happen. So this is one point of caution that I surely want to put out on the table, uh, because they haven't seen the correction so far. And if you remember in few days back conversation as well, I had mentioned that whenever we get these kind of divergence, where the Nifty small cap or the mid cap index are making higher high, but Nifty is making lower low, typically these are important points to watch out for. So one of the thing happens, either Nifty catch up on the upside, or small mid caps underperform and they fall on the downside. So which way will it be, need to be seen. I still think, looking at the data, that maybe even if the trend is reversing, at some point I would need a meaningful bounce, because market tends to do this very often. It will tend to remove all the weak hands out of the market. I think the people who might be long, they might already be nervous because the previous low is breaking. But uh, but yes, I think it can very well happen that over here the breakdown happens. And I'll tell you one more thing why this can also be a false breakdown, is because when I was seeing, and because now technical analysis has become very popular, people are looking, at the same chart, right? So over here also there is this trend line breakdown that is happening. So uh, so, ne- so let's see what happens. I'm still hopeful that maybe in the second half, we might end up seeing recovery. If at all the recovery doesn't happen, then the things I'll monitor is how the option data is towards the end of the day, and what specifically Bank Nifty is doing. Because tomorrow I think HDFC and ICICI Bank has quarterly results. Okay, if you want to see the quarterly results, you can just hover over here, go to calendar, or if all is selected, you will get all the stocks. If you want to see specifically for some basket, if I want to see Nifty 50 ka, which are the companies that are going to post result. So today it is JSW Steel and Reliance. Of course, yes, Reliance is also a big one. And on Saturday, HDFC Bank and ICICI Bank would be, giving out the results. So yes, let's see. The setup is interesting. I don't know. When I look at the data, and I see, we often tend to get such situations where we are in doubt what to do. But I think uh, my initial expectation would be that a bounce should happen, at least a meaningful one, in the next few days. If at all the bounce doesn't happen, there might be some consolidation that we might end up seeing. Okay, which so by consolidation, what I mean is, something of this sort can happen, and only then it might end up going down. Where it ends up becoming a flag or a triangular pattern or something like that. If at all, the pullback is not deep, right? So that is the expectation. So let's see how things play out. Now, I think this was broadly the discussion point today, because a lot of messages are floating around Nifty breakdown. You might see 24 500, 24 300 sort of levels and so on. So that's why I think it is more prudent to discuss a lot more in detail how I am thinking and what are the data points I was watching. Of course, I can go wrong, but all the decisions are mostly backed on the data, and it is not a gut feeling as such, right? So with that, I'll leave it. Uh, if there are any questions, I can take it up. So, trade whiz, what's the moral of the story? The moral of the story is I will wait and watch for the day end, how it plays out. If at all there is a breakdown, I would watch what the Nifty index is doing, and I would watch how the open interest has behaved throughout the day. So, I mentioned right now that for the Nifty index over here, there is this almost 1 crore 77 lakh contracts which are there. So, while we were speaking, the OI change was 14.7%. It has now risen a bit mildly to 16.09. So, I'll see what is happening over here as well. Okay, because the call sellers are now getting very aggressive, and they have shifted their I mean, they seems to be shorting 25,000. Okay, and right now we are above the 25,000 mark. So whether this leads to some sort of short covering today or not needs to be seen. So I hope the moral of the story is clear. Trade with Nifty short term time frame positive divergence. Yes, yes, Narsimha Murthy. I think that's what I'm thinking. Let's see. Aditya Khare says 20-day AD is holding. So, Sanjay Khare is saying 20-day AD is holding. So, that is true. But, Sanjay, I would just caution you on one point. This is a average, right? So, average ko turn hone mein, it takes a little bit of time because, say, for example, if the market was doing very well in this phase, okay, so the breadth had not been that great so far, right? Uska thoda lag effect comes over here because you can see over here that the market is falling and the breadth has gone up. That is because the smoothening is happening, right? So that is why maybe the good was over here, but that is now getting captured somewhere over here. Now you might say कि why don't we give a raw data mein problem ye hai that there is a lot of zigzagging happen, and it does not give you a good trend as such. And that's where we found out that smoothening with 20-day, it happens with a slight bit of lag, but nevertheless it is a very good indicator to gauge the market trend. In Mahesh says, is there in Bank Nifty there seems to be a wedge breakdown? So I just mentioned, I don't know. I don't think there is. Okay, uh, I get what you're saying, but I think that has been saved so far because when I was trying to wait, sorry, let me maximize the screen only. When I tried to, sorry, yeah. So over here, Bank Nifty. So when I actually try to draw the trend lines, so this okay. See, for a wedge, you might want these sort of patterns, right? Where on the I mean the tops are contracting very sharply, but the lows are not, and that's where you end up getting a wedge. So typically there is a bullish reversal that is expected, but if it breaks down, then it is bad. I understand that point, but sorry, let me get back here. This does not give you a look and a feel of a wedge pattern, I would say, because see over here, firstly, if I connect from this high, okay, तो high तो ऊपर ही है, and if I do this, ऐसे, then it might feel more like a range breakdown as such. I think the better way, in my view, is to draw a parallel channel, right? So if I'm connecting these two highs and I draw a parallel channel over here, then I think that is a bit better thing to watch out for, in my view. So more than the wedge, because it is not giving us a wedge like structure, I'm actually tracking this channel and hoping to see whether this is held or not, at least by the day end. DV, how to interpretation? how to do interpretation of AD, please guide. So the interpretation of AD would be the same only, but please keep in mind that there will be some lead and lag. Okay, there will be some lead and lag, uh, and also please understand that while we are looking at the Nifty index, okay, this AD captures the entire breadth of the market. Okay, so you would know that the small and the mid caps have been rising, right? The So if I do small cap, in fact, small cap hit a new high today only. At least from whatever. Nahi, it had hit yesterday only, right? So in that sense, the breadth is actually good only so far, and that is what is getting reflected over here as well in the 20-day AD ratio. So yes, I mean, if the line is falling, that means breadth is bad. If the line is rising, matlab breadth is good. And then whenever this indicator reach to some sort of extreme, in the either on the upside or on the downside, that's where we need to assess the market condition to find some conclusion as to what can happen. But so far, but so far it is more or less neutral. So AD is not frankly indicating anything at this point of time. But say for example, had it been that the market is over here and the AD was say somewhere over here, this could have been an indication that maybe a short term bottom can occur. I mean, over there the confidence level would have been risen even more if this indicator was somewhere in this zone. So that's about it, I think, for the AD. Mahesh says yesterday Rohit sir tweeted about the positioning versus the. So Mahesh, I just explained. I'll explain it once again in case if you have missed it. So this is what one of the data points that I was watching out for, and this doesn't convince me that a very big correction might happen right away. That is because, see, what happens is that the FII future positioning, if I have to draw a vertical line, okay, see over here, market eventually bottom, right? Over here, market eventually bottom. So there can be a little bit of lead and lag, but more or less, whenever there are extreme short positionings, sooner or later it does tend to reverse. So see, initial over here the positionings were short. We got some short covering, but again, I mean, in this last leg of decline, it went down, and it went down all the way over here till the when it was the Feb expiry. Now, as I mentioned earlier as well, that one can argue that the Nifty index can fall more, and this positioning can also go over here. Can we rule out that possibility? The answer is no. You cannot rule out that possibility. That is a fair argument, to be very honest. Okay, without sounding biased, but when I see the other data points, like I was showing you, the option open interest, or a very high open interest around 25,000 and so on, that makes me feel that shayad today this level can be held. That is also because Nifty ka one major component, which is Bank Nifty, is also at an important support level. So combining those factors and the reading of sentiment data, that's where I sort of came to that conclusion. So this seems to be a bot. Ranjan says, can the dashboard design be changed and put every small nuggets of data points in graphical form to gauge quickly and efficiently? I don't know. We need to think about it. Mm, We need to think about it. Uh, Trading Hack says, Mahesh, referring to the rising wedge breakdown. Oh, okay, okay, okay. I understood what you're saying. I understood what Mahesh ji is also saying. So, do you mean So do you mean this breakdown, right, on the daily chart? But I think over there also the okay. Yeah, actually this one I did not see. Maybe because of the bias or whatever you say. But I think yes, this is actually one important observation. Mm, yes, this can be a little worrisome. But I would, I mean, what might happen? Okay, even if this is a genuine breakdown, is that at least a pullback might happen and then it might go down. Uh, Mainly because we are at an important support level, right? Had it not been so, say for example, if the 40-day exponential average was say somewhere over year or so, then I would have expected a correction till year, then maybe a pullback and then a breakdown. But we are already at a point where it is at an important support level, and people who don't know, usually when the bands and the 40-day are both are at the same point, it actually works as a very 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 good support level. Wait, I'll try to find such examples. But yes, see, you can see over here, there was a nice uptrend. There hasn't been much of a correction, so there were doubts that whether the correction will happen or no, and how larger the correction will be. At that point also, the lower band and the 40 were at the same point. Eventually there was a breakout. There was some consolidation over here, but then eventually a breakout. And uh, these we actually teach in our mentorship program as well, where what are the very very good support levels that we need to watch out for. So say something like this also over here also, 40 and the lower band were almost at the same point. There was breakdown for a day, okay, but eventually it make a very strong comeback. So typically when the lower band and 40 are at the same point, it works very very well, okay, be it on the upside or be it on the downside. So over here as well, lower band and 40 are around the same point, resistance happened, and then the market declined. So this setup is what is making me a little more you know optimistic that at least for now this low will be held. Now whether it bounces back and then decline is something that we need to see. But yeah, that is what I would tend to think at this point. Do you have any sequence of indicator to check every day, and or we randomly? No. So, see, Gurdeep, it's frankly up to you what all data points you might want to see. But see, because we have built this software, and I and my other teammates, we were the core in building this platform. So we had tried to build all those features that we look at, right? And so we did not want to load up with too many things, but all the important data points was what we wanted to put it. And because I know that all those data exist in our platform, so I have a habit of looking at everything. So the OI, the open interest, how is it? Then what is the in futures, whether there is an open interest built up that is happening or no, and so on, right? So these are all the things that I normally watch, along with sentiment and diffusion indicator, of course. So yes, I mean these are the indicators that I watch over and above, say in technical indicators where I use RMI and RSI. So mostly these are the two indicators added with Bollinger Bands and moving averages. So these are few things that I tend to track. Shishir Mishra says view on TCS. This is the problem of discussing, a little bit of medium term outlook, because, but anyways, nevertheless, I'll try to address it and not run away from that. See, in TCS, I would explain the setup once again. Okay, the thing is that the open interest is at the highest level. Okay, now the problem with open interest is that you don't know what is the highest level. Okay, it can be this, it can go over here also, this is highest, and so on, right? But the thing is that the open interest can be finite, else the stock might end up coming into ban list as well. But so far, if I have to see the limit position of TCS, the problem is that the limit position is based on futures, options, everything, right? So future में उसका क्या highest open interest can be, it is very hard to derive because it is a combination of everything. But what is certainly happening is that there is a lot of shorting that has happened in TCS. Okay, many people are challenging that AI will disrupt IT and so on, and all those things might happen. But to be very honest, I have seen these sort of patterns playing out time and again. It can be some lead or lag, okay, because these are all medium term indicators. Sometimes for these things to reverse, it can also take 2 months, 3 months or so, but the eventual trend has to change. That is what my view is. I mean, the best case is Reliance. Okay, we had been highlighting earlier as well. So Reliance had the highest ever open interest over here. Okay, where this entire decline, if you see this entire decline, saw a huge surge in open interest, right? What eventually happened was that there was new lows that were formed. Okay, if you technically see over here, this was 1200. Okay, so 1200, say if you see the low, it had gone 40 50 points, but it was up down, and it was going down. So people might find it very frustrating. But when high open interest occurs, eventually the turnaround happens, and when that turnaround happens, those are equally fast. Okay, be it Reliance, be it Kotak. So Kotak Bank also, when the RBI banned for selling some opening new account or credit card or whatever, the open interest was highest. Rest, what has happened, right, over here. I think IDFC First Bank also had seen it because of the very same reason. So in this decline, what had happened was the open interest has surged to the highest level. Okay, over here. Eventually, there was some more decline that we saw, but then a turnaround happened, right? So for this, open interest tells you that in the medium term, what people are thinking, okay, and they are very bearish. That is why they are shorting, right? But at some point, the turnaround does happen. So for that, we go back to the basics, which is go to TCS, see what is happening on the daily. It is below averages. So when it is below the averages, it is not a good sign. Okay, and especially when the averages are going down. So see the daily and the weekly averages, and that's where you will find the understanding. So over here, see what is happening. The 20 week is not breaking on the upside, right? So from a medium term perspective, to expect a reversal, the initial point would be the 20 week, that it needs to be broken, or else what might happen is that it might end up testing the low, or it has this major low from a medium term perspective as well, which is say somewhere around uh, 29 26 or so. So basically, when the open interest is very high and the stock is at a very big support level, typically those sort of support levels should hold in the medium to long term. Okay, that is what the expectation is, and that is how I think about it. When I look at open interest and try to understand what can be the medium term trend, especially when the open interest is at an extreme. Sanjay Khare says, if you have time, tell me the meaning of various. So Sanjay ji, we have already made the video over here. Okay, you can see in the help section, finding tops and bottoms using Nifty index, using the, I mean, basically using the sentiment indicators. You can go through this video. It is a 30-minute video and explain, and all the indicators are explained, in detail over there. Please go and check this video. Your concept should be clear. Oh, Sibayan Banerjee. Yes, we discussed that. I mean, there are a lot of important heavyweight, that are going to announce the results. So let's see, uh, what it how it behaves. Shishir Mishra says how to make FNO list for RRG. So Shishir, I had mentioned this earlier as well. What I have tried to do is that I have made watch list. Okay, let me show you. I made watch list of 50-50 stocks for the FNO. Okay, and after that I go and I check in RRG. So in RRG, what I do is that I will see what is FNO stock one. Okay, when I click over here, all the FNO stocks will come over here. So that is what I had done for the FNO, because you cannot see 225 stocks at the same time. Even if you see it, it will be so messy that you might not want to see it only. And the other issue is that it puts the load on the server, which sort of leads to the breakdown of the screen. So yes, but the workaround is that make a 50-50 ka watch list and you will be able to see it on RRG. One query on RMI and 40 EMA: when some stock is below 40 and the RMI moves to buy after a long time, do you think? So over here, Mahesh, it all boils down to the position sizing. Okay. Now just to give you an example. Okay. Say something like TCS, for example. This is a hypothetical situation, but I'm just try I'll try my best to explain you. So see, what happens is that if at all it moves higher and the RMA goes higher, okay, I might not buy 100%, but what I might buy is say 10%, 20%, 30%, depending on how convinced I am. Okay. My major conviction point will be when the daily averages break and this trend line breaks. That will be a lot more confirmation that actually the trend is reversing. Until then, the size of the position can be how convinced I am. If the signal is happening, at least maybe I would want to do 10-20%. But again, these are all personal choices. uh, but if you have to ask me, would I be aggressive in buying when the RMI turns bullish and when the prices are below the averages? The answer would be no. But some bit of position can be taken into account, so that that at least becomes your tracking position, and you see how the stock movement is playing out. So that's it. I think I've tried to address all the question. So that's it for today. We are also running out of time. It's 11:43. So thanks everyone for joining. We will catch up, on Monday, and let's see, what Nifty does, because Nifty is right now actually at a very crucial point. So let's see how the data point evolves, and let's see, how to take up the things forward. Okay. So thanks a lot for joining, and see you on Monday at 11.